Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Good morning, Glenn.
Hey, Mikey, what's going on, man? Good morning.
I'll tell you what, I'm juiced up right now. We got a guest with a table for three today with Nathalie.
We got our favorite table for three in the back of the coffee shop so we can just have some chats.
And
Love
she
it.
walked into the shop, went up to the counter, and guess what she delivered for me?
Well, let me
go ahead.
Let me full
That's why I'm
transparency.
smiling, right.
Full transparency. So,
Yes.
Natalie, welcome. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to having some chats. I and Natalie are drinking delicious black coffee.
Tall blacks.
Tall blacks. Right?
How about Mikey?
Love it. Now, Mikey's got a coffee with 17 pumps of something, 17 sugars,
I got
17
some sugars.
creams.
I got some cream, some vanilla, some almond, some chocolate, some whipped cream.
I'm not even sure there's coffee in there. So,
All I know is I'm probably going to start this episode very calmly, and then as the caffeine and the sugar kick in,
you probably have 17 espresso shots in there too.
I'll tell you what.
So it's a gallon tall.
Yeah, I'm so
Natalie,
excited.
great to have you here.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
excited to have you,
Thank
Natalie.
you.
Thanks for the
Morning.
coffee. This is so great. Natalie, I know from the rooms and plus an experience we're going to talk about it. And I could go ahead and throw this out there. If you get a chance, go back and listen to, or it's coming out, The Attitude on Gratitude. The session on gratitude,
Yes.
right, is going to be a good one.
Yep.
Natalie's going to share something pretty powerful there. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is fun. So, go ahead, Glenn.
No,
you
I'm
were going to
just-
say something profound. I
was just
saw
gonna-
profoundness there.
No, I got some gears mixed up thinking about gratitude because gratitude drives a lot of what I do. I mean, it's just such a great byproduct of living in sobriety.
Well, it's hard to get all bent with the bad attitude when you got gratitude in your head. It's like I want to be mad, but I want to be mad, but I got this overwhelming sense of gratitude, and all of a sudden it kind of really waters down the whole point of being angry.
Yeah, you know what's just hit me? It's just like serving. You can't be pissed off at somebody while you're serving them.
Yeah, right.
You just can't. I mean, it doesn't work that way in the brain. So, Natalie, great to have you. We're going to dig into your story. Thanks for joining us. Natalie's got a great story. I know part of it. Looking forward to hearing all of it. And, for the folks listening, what we do is we break these down into three sections, right? One is experience, what we went through kind of drinking.
The nasty, but not the drunk-a-log.
We don't get too much in drunk-a-logs, but, it provides a point of perspective.
Where I was.
Yeah, and then secondly is strength, right? What did we do? What change did we make? What did we do, as I like to say in the sober gym?
What I learned.
Yeah, and then, or I'm still learning. And then thirdly is hope, right? Experience, strength, and hope. What happened? What promises are coming true, or what promises do we still hope are going to come true?
How I'm living.
Yeah. It's awesome.
good
So,
stuff.
Natalie, we will kick it off to you. Again, welcome.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Cheers
Thanks
with
so
the
much,
tall black
guys.
coffees.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. So I am an alcoholic, as you guys could guess.
Hey, you're in a good place.
Yeah. You're in the right corner of the coffee shop.
That's right.
I guess a bit about where I came from and what got me here. I do work in healthcare, so COVID is definitely a part of my story. I think that it was the perfect combination, witnessing some extreme suffering at my work and stuff like that really brought me to my rock bottom. It's so different to look back now. My life is so different now. I'm coming up on, I have a little bit over 7 months of sobriety, so I'm still very
Man,
much
that's awesome.
a newbie.
I want to ring a bell or something.
my
That's
gosh,
so
it's
exciting.
It's really crazy. I can't believe I've made it this far. I think that COVID brought up two big things that made my drinking very obvious that I didn't want to continue doing it. It just was making my life really, really bad. But two things, I definitely started to associate drinking with bad stuff instead of good stuff. You know, when you start out drinking, I was in high school when I started drinking, and it was the fun stuff, right?
Sure.
And I definitely started using alcohol more to numb pain and to kind of check out. And COVID also pointed that out to me extremely, because you couldn't socially drink anymore, right? You couldn't go out with your friends anymore and kind of cover up.
Walking into an empty bar.
Right. You couldn't cover up the fact that you just wanted to drink.
That's a good
You didn't
point.
really even want to see. You know, now I've had some time to reflect, and I wonder how much of a good friend I was being when I would meet my friends out all the time, or if I just really wanted to drink, you know. So that combination of isolating and still wanting to drink was just kind of scary to me. And of course, working in healthcare too, I got a front seat to what the end stages of alcoholism looks like, which is horrific. And you know, I just didn't want to go down that path. Now my sponsor has a really great way of explaining it to me. She says, before I came to the program, I knew that I couldn't control my drinking. Now I know that as powerlessness and unmanageability, but before I just knew I can't control my drinking, and I don't know why. I'm constantly drinking more than I want to. I'm blacking out when I don't want to. I'm embarrassing myself and, you know, being mean, and, you know, all these character defects that are coming out. And now my sponsor has kind of taught me, when you meet that criteria of powerlessness with alcohol, it's like you're at the top of an elevator, and then the elevator starts to go down, right? And you might embarrass yourself, and the elevator's going down. You might get a DUI, or you might get arrested, or you might lose some relationships, or you might, and it's your choice whenever you want to get off, you know? And I think that my experience in healthcare, although it's been kind of tough to witness some people that are sick and things like that, it showed me a really, you know, a front seat to where I'm going to end up if I continue to drink, and knowing that I can't control it. So I had to get off that elevator. Yeah. I tried to do it myself a couple times, and I failed, of course. Most I ever got to was 50 days, and I think that those short periods of sobriety fed my ego a little bit. But then every time I would go back to drinking, it was just that utter humiliation and demoralization and et cetera. So I said, I think I need some help to get sober. And
who'd you say that to?
You know what? The morning of the first day that I went to an AA meeting, I just had an appointment with my primary care doc. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I had anxiety. I thought that I was witnessing these things at work, and I thought that I was just getting anxiety. I was having really bad night terrors and stuff like that. And I lied about the substance abuse screening.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I may have fibbed along my way too.
I lied about how much I was drinking, but I knew myself. Yeah. You know, I couldn't lie to myself. Yes, exactly. I couldn't lie to myself, and so it was really. It was just right in front of me. It was literally written on a sheet of paper, the substance abuse screening that I lied on, and then all of the symptoms that I was having, all of this anxiety, sleeping, weight gain, blah, 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 blah. And it was just, you know, one arrow straight to the other. It was very obvious that all of the things that I was going through were because of drinking.
Right. And the arrow pointed you to AA. How were you familiar with AA? Was there friends, family in the program?
I had a counselor years ago that
planted a seed.
Tried to, and her husband was an alcoholic, so I just thought she thought I was an alcoholic because her husband was an alcoholic. It couldn't have been me, right? I was still very much. I was only 24 at the time, so I was still very much in denial. But she just kept saying, you know, AA is always available, and it just popped into my head. I don't really know exactly what brought me to AA, but I searched on my phone that night after the morning of going to my PMD's appointment, AA meetings near me, and at the time there was Zoom, so brought me to Zoom.
You logged on and said that had to be just talk about anxiety.
I wanted to keep my camera off.
Yeah, right.
Totally. A lot of people do.
I'm like, I mean, that takes, to me, I think it's almost easier walking into a room because you can physically you can get out of the room.
Right.
You can go to the parking lot. You can change your mind in the parking lot. Once you log into that room, there's this level of commitment. I mean, I just give you a lot of credit. That's all I'm saying.
That's great. And I loved how you were describing and your sponsor about the elevator.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that really clicked for me. To me, that talks about the progressiveness. Once you're on the path of drinking, right? Once you take that first drink, you're on the path somewhere, right? You could be, hey, social drinker. I can drink 2 times a year, never get hungover, no issues, and you're early on that path. But then somewhere along the path, there's that line, right? And then the elevator just keeps going down and down and down. I call it progressive. Until you hit the bottom. And many times, we continue to push additional floors.
Yeah. I call it a typical Friday night for me when I was out there. I mean, you hit like 4 or 5 things, relationships, health issues. I'm like, yeah, okay, that I did all that in one night. Keep going. Then I just kept pressing that down button. Right.
So what did you think that first, so I guess we're switching gears into the strength section. What did we do? So you locked into Zoom. What did you think your first meeting? How hard was it? You obviously survived. What were some of the things that you were thinking?
Oh, I just bawled my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out, and I remember two people specifically really stood out to me, not because they said anything very profound, but just because they genuinely seemed to care about what I was saying, and they didn't come from a judgmental place. I definitely felt a lot of shame for the fact that I was thinking that I was an alcoholic, and a part of you knows, but I just there were 2 people specifically, and I'm still very close to them in the program that really just seemed to care. And I remember hearing the next night in the second meeting, I did the 90 for 90 because I was hanging by a thread. And the next night they reread how it works, and I actually got to listen that time. And it said, if you have decided you want what we have. And I couldn't deny that I wanted exactly what these 2 people showed me, just total non-judgmental, welcomeness. So, yeah.
Can I jump on something real fast?
Yeah.
90 and 90, for those that are not familiar with the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, 90 and 90 is a recommendation, a suggestion that you take in a meeting a day for 90 days in a row. And when it was introduced with that concept, I thought, well, you're asking a lot. I mean, don't you know I got life?
I thought I would have it. I would have it nipped in the bud after 90 and 90. I was like, I'll do 90 and 90.
So it's a 90-day program. You're telling me, okay,
and then I'll be
perfect.
better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, trust me, I thought that too. I'm like, when will I graduate?
I'll tell you what. That setting the tone. It's just set me on the right course in my life. Just setting the tone in my recovery. Just making it a habit to be at a meeting and making a meeting part of my everyday. Valuable.
Yeah, so you mentioned your sponsor. How long did it take you to get a sponsor?
Oh, I did not get a sponsor the first whole month. I was convinced that I was going to relapse, and so I didn't want to kind of bring somebody down with me and make them feel that it was their fault. I was totally convinced of it.
Wow.
So I didn't get a sponsor for a month. I did continue doing a meeting every day, and I had some contacts. All the girls are great about immediately getting you their numbers. And so there were specific times where I reached out to people as kind of temporary sponsors when I would have a really rough night or things like that. But I didn't get a sponsor for a month. And then the first sponsor I did get, I picked her out from the Women's International 24-hour line. I picked her out because she had a very cute Texas accent. And I wanted to work through the steps with her.
Beautiful.
And read through the big book with somebody with a really cute accent. So
that is awesome.
Still, even at that point, I was taking the program seriously, but I needed some joy in it, some fun in it.
That's
and
beautiful.
And she really has brought that to me. She's really she was my temporary sponsor, and now I have a sponsor that I'm going to be with through step 12. I'm still only on step 7 right now, but working through them.
Your current sponsor have a British accent, or how does that play out?
No accent, but she lives in the States. So,
okay, all right.
So she keeps me accountable.
So how did you find her?
This one I found because I went to a women's meeting and bawled my eyes out. I cried a lot at the beginning of this.
A Zoom or in-person women's meeting?
I went to a Zoom meeting,
right.
and I posted, I was crying, and so they just said, post your number. If you want, we'll post our numbers. And she called me after that meeting and just said, I think it's really important that you get a sponsor. If you don't want it to be me, I'll help you find somebody, but you only have so much sobriety and you're really struggling. And I definitely thought that getting a sponsor would make the program harder for me. I had that in my mind for some reason, and it's been the total opposite. I myself make the program very, very difficult when I try to handle it on my own, right? Just like all of life, if I try to handle it on my own. My sponsor has made it unbelievably easier. So yeah, it's been incredible to have my sponsor. I totally adore her.
So I have a question, and I don't want to take you off track, but so are you, your meeting schedule, are you 80% Zooms, 50% Zooms, or still 100% Zooms as your meetings go?
I'm about 50-50 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just asking because, again, the world is a different place, and some meetings around where people listening to this coffee, maybe they don't have availability to go to a face-to-face. And I sit across from somebody I can see hope, I could see recovery in somebody who did it primarily with Zoom, but is now you have a hybrid.
Yes, and that's why I'm so excited to talk about gratitude and stuff, guys, because, oh my gosh, the in-person stuff is just... It's hard to explain, actually, how meaningful things are. Those Zoom meetings were a really good kind of bridge for me to learn about the program and learn about the 12 steps. And then now seeing people in person, it's like those relationships it's magnified the way that you feel connected to other people.
Right.
That first meeting where those two people stood out to me, now I feel that from an entire room of people that they genuinely care about. Yeah. It's unremarkable. I can't even explain.
Yeah, it's a dynamic that's hard to describe to somebody who hasn't experienced it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like relationships are one of your keys, right? One of your things that you do in the Sober Gym that really help you is relationships. And what that rings a bell in my head is we don't do this alone.
Right.
We no longer have to be alone and go through life alone. And it's that ability to just reach out and say, hey, I need some help. And I've never seen a more friendly environment than the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, there's stuff going on. And hey, when I started going in, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I mean, I didn't talk to anybody on my phone for a year. Now people they want to have coffee with me. What are you, nuts? And oh my gosh, AA bowling? Absolutely no way. Or AA Uno? No way.
Yeah.
AA Uno? Is that such a thing?
Oh, I did that for 8 hours when I was in my rehab, my first rehab, and I almost went out and drank. It was so painful.
Yeah, right.
Well, and when I was drinking, I didn't think that there was a social life at all outside of drinking. So I got to ask you a question. So when you started out telling your story, it seemed like you were the friend that just loved everybody so much. Hey, let's go out and have a drink together. Let's check in. Let's go have drinks together, right? So what happens now that you're sober, right? With those friendships, are we still connected with them? Are they okay with you not drinking? Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm very lucky with the friends that I've got. My closest girlfriends I've had since about 5th grade. So I've known them forever and ever. And I've been the drinker of the group. And I've been the one that kind of, in high school and in college, I would instigate the drinking. Oh, let's do shots. I was that person. And I thought that's...
You were the fun one.
There was a part of me that thought that that's why they liked me.
Right.
It's insanity. You really believe that alcohol is part of who you are.
Huh?
And now... It's been the total opposite. I'm so grateful that I'm more clear when I'm with them. I'm actually, this time last year, I had them over. You guys know what Galentine's Day is?
No.
It is the Tuesday before Valentine's Day. You do it with your girlfriends, Galentine's Day, instead of Valentine's.
Okay.
So I had them over for Galentine's Day. This was when I was still drinking. And I had all this wine. I had all the, they came to my house. We were just hanging out in my living room. And I drank everybody under the table, ended up sleeping before they even left, just totally embarrassed myself, wasn't even present. At this time, I was paranoid about my drinking too, so I was like, oh gosh, my girlfriends have 1-2 glasses of wine, and I've had 7, 8. Are they noticing?
You're counting.
Yeah, all these paranoid thoughts start coming in, and, that made me drink more. And so this year, I'm having them over, we're doing a Friendsgiving, and I'm going to host it, and I'm just so excited to be clear with them, to be present, to not worry about the fact that I might fall asleep. Are you kidding me?
You still might fall asleep. You still might fall asleep, but that's just from exhaustion.
That's from cooking turkey.
Yeah, right.
So that sounds like a great point of hope, right? So how is life today compared to how it was 7+ months ago?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to it's not perfect at all. And that's one thing I already know that I said wrong. I know that I said at the beginning that all of the problems in my life were related to alcohol, and I've learned that that's not true. I do think that my ego thinking that idea brought me to AA, so I'm grateful for that. But I know now that I have a lot of other work to do. But as far as how things are going now, I just couldn't have even pictured it. When I was sick, when I was drinking like that, I didn't think that there was fun. I didn't think that there was joy. I thought that everything just revolved around drinking. I thought many, many, many people drank the same way that I did and would go home and drink alone by themselves after drinking out. And so it's a totally different... I'm able to, Glenn, thank you for pointing out that relationship thing. My relationships are much deeper now. And I think that that's so valuable to me. My relationship to other people is a lot more rich because I'm actually listening to them and I'm there. Yeah. Yes, I'm present. Sure. Right. Yeah. So that gift has been amazing in sobriety.
You know what I heard? I heard a lot about community, a lot about relationships, and a lot about meetings. But I also heard you real briefly said, and working the steps, and working with my sponsor to work the steps. So there's curriculum behind your community. There's you got a program you're working to improve.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. So I didn't even start working the steps until I met my most recent sponsor. And she's awesome about having physical things for us to do for the steps. So, oh gosh, I wish I had my big book, but in step 7, we went to a stream. I wrote down all of my character defects, all of my resentments. I found stones, wrote them out physically on
all
the
2
stones.
Of them?
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. I hope I'm not coming off that way because that is not the case.
No, during one of our sessions, we found out there's like 160 or 190 character defects you can have. I'm like, I got most of them.
So I wrote them on these stones, and I would throw the stones into the river. And it was awesome. a physical activity for us to do to let go of these character defects and let go of these resentments, and also awesome. Tied to nature, which has been super important to me too. Getting out into nature is just such proof of a higher power. Right. Talking about the sunrise gratitude thing that we'll do later, I just looked around the whole time and said, I didn't make that sunrise. I didn't make that water. I didn't make that, So it's just such proof of a higher power, and that's been so important to me too.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, certainly appreciate you jumping in and sharing your story. Loved it, Nathalie. Thank you. What I try to do is come up with a theme, right? And what really sticks out, as we try to put a title on these sessions. And what really stuck out to me is you just got to a point, especially with your alcohol assessment with the doctor. And what I wrote down is that you just couldn't lie to yourself anymore. And that's so powerful, and it's such a meaningful point, and kind of where you you switch from the pain and you started to get into the solution. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
So I love seeing you in the rooms.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks,
Thank you,
Natalie,
guys.
for coming
Thank
in. Really
you.
appreciate
Great
it.
to have you. See you in the Zoom room.
Yep.
All right.
Bring that
thanks, Natalie.
17 pumps of coffee, Mikey.
That's right. Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.